These are very simple things we can all do. This is actually room acoustics that we all learn as audiologists, and we just apply to the musical scenario. So the 4 environmental techniques to reduce noise and music exposure. First, if you have a large amplifier speaker system, elevate it from the floor a little bit. Why? Well, if it's on the floor, the lower frequencies would be lost to the floorboards. That is, it sees a lower impedance. It doesn't, and so it would rather take the path of least resistance and it would go away or be lost to the board, not out of the loudspeaker. But if you can elevate them on these little erasers or little legs and just elevate them maybe a half a centimeter, even a centimeter off the floor, those low frequency sounds that would previously be lost to the floor would go out into the audience. So not only would it be a flatter response, but it would be a response that would be better able to be perceived. In other words, if it is lost, the first thing many people would do is turn up the volume. Well, that would accommodate the lower frequencies around 250 hertz or 500 hertz, but it would unfortunately increase the sound at 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000, so it might be potentially damaging. Elevating them allows it to be flat, and the output can be at a lower level, and even though the sound level might be lower, it would be perceived as just as loud because you have the significant low frequencies give you the vibral tactile cues of loudness. Strings should always have at least 2 meters of empty space, unobstructed space above them. You see this a lot in musical pits where the performers are up on stage, but unfortunately you see the musicians are in the pit. Many of them have these low-hanging ceilings. We know this because at intermission, they get up, they grab their instrument, and they have to bend over. They can't stand up correctly. And what happens is that the poorly constructed overhand tends to absorb some of the higher frequency sounds. Now, I'm a clarinet player and a piano player, no big issue. If I play my clarinet, yes, it may eat up some of my higher frequency sounds, but when I say it's a good sounding sound, and by the way, I'm a third-rate clarinet player. My son calls me a music technician. I'm not really a musician. But what happens when I play my clarinet, it does eat the higher frequencies, but I'm listening to the lower frequency interresonant breathiness that gives me that fullness of the sound. I don't care whether I've lost the awareness of what's happening at 3,000 or 4,000 hertz. Whereas if I was a string player, such as a violin or a viola player, what's happening is that it would eat up some of the higher frequency harmonics. The first thing I would do as a violin player is play harder to reestablish the higher frequencies, and then I'd be in my office with wrist and arm problems. But also, if I'm playing louder, the person next to me plays louder, and so on and so forth down the line. If you can take the violin section out adjacent to the conductor and take us brass players and woodwinds and put us at the back where we don't care whether we've lost the high end, everything will be better. It'll be healthier. The instruments would be better. And I saw Mozart recently, and he thought that was a wonderful idea. So not only does it make good acoustic sense from room acoustics, but I think musicians do accept that well. And this is a slide where the red shows you a violin, again, playing 440, and then under a poorly constructed overhang is the yellow, where the higher frequencies have been eaten. Take them away from the overhang, and all is well. 2 meters of unobstructed space in front of the orchestra. Well, this is the pin effect. We're using our natural high frequencies. If you can back off the stage, let's say in a high school band, they usually have these massively large stages as part of the cafeteria. And if you can back them off, not only does the sound go out to the back of the audience, but it reflects off the unobstructed floor and reflects. Just like this, it enhances the high end. So you not only get the incident sound coming in, but you get the reflected sound also adding up constructively. That way they don't have to play as loudly up on stage, but everything is taken from a damaging to a potentially non-damaging level, despite the fact that at the end of the room, at the back of the room, it's sufficiently loud. 2 meters of unobstructed floor space. As you can see, there's a net high frequency effect, just like the pin effect. Treble brass instruments should be on risers. Well, everyone likes to see the brass. It's something called brass mentality, but it's more than that. If I was to measure with the sound level meter the sound coming out of my trumpet, measure it just below, off to the side, just above, off to the other side, maybe behind, For lower frequencies, not that much of a difference. But as the frequency of a trumpet gets higher and higher and higher, it becomes more and more like a laser beam, like a tweeter microphone or a tweeter loudspeaker. And so if you can put them on risers, literally all the damaging elements of the trumpet, which has significant energy from 2,000 to 4,000 hertz, goes over the heads of those downwind. So risers make a lot of sense.